to draft Tank Bigsby. Let's be honest. Winning the fantasy championship is not easy. It takes a dominant team, and in order to get that right, you have to get the running back position correct. You can either have a running back that helps you shoot your team to the moon and you win a fantasy championship, or you can have one that completely derails and deflates your entire team, either by them getting injured or getting outsnapped by their backup, which does happen. So in order to get a leg up amongst your league mates, it's important to pay attention to the late rounds in those gems. Those can be the difference between you looking like a genius during playoff time. But the thing is, there's only but so many to go around. So let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars backfield, why I think it has so much value and why you need to pay attention to some key pieces there in that backfield. So let's talk about Tank Bigsby. Okay, so first, let's talk about how to properly evaluate a player. I got 3 ways to evaluate if somebody's going to be successful as a player. 1, I look at their environment or the system that they are in. 2, I look at their talent. And then 3, I look at their opportunity. Okay. If you can find somebody that has the right system that they're in, the right environment that they're in, they are talented and have the right opportunity, it increases the chances of them hitting as a fantasy prospect. So we're going to break down Tank into these 3 different categories and we'll kind of wrap it all up at the end. First, let's take a look at his environment. And we're starting off with new head coach Liam Cohen.
Duval.
Started off with the Rams offensive coordinator back in 2022 when the entire team just fell apart. Then he moved down to Kentucky as an offensive coordinator, went back to college in 2023 as an offensive coordinator, and then came back to the NFL in 2024 as the Bucs OC, which a lot of people know him as. So his philosophy, right? This whole offensive philosophy that Liam Cohen kind of goes with. He's an offensive guy, right? And his offense feeds off of a strong running game. He's a running game type of guy. So in order for him to operate his offense the way he really wants to, you need to have a strong running game. Otherwise, you know, it's going to kind of throw some things off for him. So he has a strong running game, but it's also balanced. So the passing game kind of feeds off of the running game. So that's important. So he does a lot of inside, outside zone run concepts, pro style offense for the most part with modern spread influences here and there. And he likes to establish the run first, so that way he can then counter off of that into the passing game. All right. He's not shy from using his weapons on offense, and he likes to take risks, which is a good thing. You know, we want to see coaches who are utilizing their stars, utilizing their players, and getting them involved into the actual game plan of the game. So here's a little bit about his offensive philosophy and what he has to say about it.
About personnel. We can all love the best plays, all these cool plays, man. I want to run power. I want to run zone. Whatever your fundamental belief is, you got to keep that. Keep that core fundamental belief, and your style of play should never change. But scheme, it does change. Scheme is based on your players. My opinion is players over plays every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Okay, so let's talk about his track record. Okay, so back in 2022, right, Rams offensive coordinator, abysmal season on offense. Right, just due to primarily injuries. So you got injuries to Matthew Stafford, you got injuries to Cooper Kupp. Basically, the entire offensive line was just depleted. Right, so during that season, they had 11 different starting offensive line combinations throughout the start of the season up until the first 11 games. That is an NFL record that still stands to this day, and that just shows the lack of consistency that offense really had, right? So during his time in 2022 with the Rams, he had limited play calling. Yes, he was the offensive coordinator, but really Sean McVay was the one that was calling most of the plays and had a lion's share of the play calling that was going on that year. So obviously the year kind of tanks and we get to week 12. Week 12, Sean McVay gives Liam Cohen a chance and an opportunity to be able to call plays, right? And who are they going against? You guessed it, Super Bowl winning champion Kansas City Chiefs, right? Who end up beating my Philadelphia Eagles that year. So, pretty good team, right? And so during that game, the Rams rushed for a total of 116 yards, slightly over the Chiefs Chiefs' average rushing yards that year, which they were allowing a 107, 107.2 yards a carry. They got 116. Not a crazy outing. They did end up losing the game, of course. But I mean, it does show that, okay, this guy likes to run the ball, which is important. Okay, so next year, fast forward to 2023, he goes down to Kentucky to kind of refine his system in regards to his offensive philosophy, and he's with Kentucky, and they have Ray Davis, right? And so Ray Davis, running back for the Bills now currently, is that running back in Kentucky that time when he's with Liam Cohen. And that year, he rushed for 1,100 yards, 1,129 yards. He averaged 5.7 yards a carry, which is ridiculous. Had 21 total rushing touchdowns. Out of those 21, 7 of them were receiving touchdowns, right? And so also during that team, the team as a whole rushed for 4.9 yards a carry as a team, which was 4th in the SEC for that year. So, pretty good in regards to the rushing game. He did pretty well, honestly. And Liam Cohen's a guy who likes to get his running backs involved in the passing game too. All right, so not just a downhill runner. He likes to be creative with his running backs. So that's a great sign for Jacksonville. So next year we move forward to 2024, right? So he's with the Bucs as the offensive coordinator, and during this time with the Bucs, I'm sure you may already remember this. Just last year, the Bucs were 4th in total rushing yards, right? Setting a franchise record in total rushing yards for the season. They averaged 5.25 yards a carry, which is 3rd behind the Ravens and also Arizona. They were 4th in rushing touchdowns. They were 12th in red zone rushing attempts. And this is coming from a team where in 2023 was absolutely dead last in total rushing yards in the season. So the Bucs, prior to Liam Cohen getting there, completely sucked when it came to running the ball. Partly because they didn't have Bucky Irvin, but they did have Rashad White, and so still he comes in and completely turns around his team from an offensive side, and especially with the running game, and that showed. So compare from 2023 to 2024, they doubled the amount of touchdowns over the season. If you look at the Bucs in 2 years, and also they had extra 1,000 yards in regards to rushing overall. So that's great. That's great. So now let's take a look at some of the additions that the Jaguars have made over this course of this offseason that could be in play. So one, we got Patrick McCarry. So this is a guard from the Ravens, right? From the Ravens. He's 27 years old. He's 6'5", 304 pounds. Just signed on a 3-year, $75 million contract, which is the 10th highest paid guard in the NFL at this current moment in time. All right. So just looking at his kind of stats, he's 5th when it comes to pass win rate, and also 27th when it comes to run rate in regards to PFF. So he's more so a pass protector who is this is an addition for Trevor Lawrence, because you got to protect the quarterback, of course. But he's a good guard. Right, he's a good guard. He's not trash, right? So also they brought in another guard as well, which is Robert Haney. So Robert Haney, 26 years old, 6'4", 306 pounds, right? Was with the Bucs back in 2024. So last season he spent time with Liam Cohen, and Liam Cohen is familiar with him. He's familiar with his strengths. He's familiar with his weaknesses. He's familiar with his potential, right? Also, Haney is also familiar with Liam Cohen. He knows how the system kind of works. He knows what he's going for, and that for me is a good sign. That stands out because there is some level of familiarity, and the fact that Liam Cohen comes over from the Bucs to the Jags and he brings along this guy, that tells me a lot, about a player. So. In regards to Haney's overall performance, though, I mean, he didn't get a lot of playing time last year with the Bucs. He did start one game at center due to injury against the Saints back in week 6. During that week, though, the team as a whole rushed for 277 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Saints. So they ran all the way up and down them, to be honest with you. And out of those rushing yards, 61% of them came before contact. So these are open lanes that we're talking about. But granted, the Saints sucked that year. they were dead last in rushing rate, rushing defense. So I mean, that's kind of another thing to go into it. So they weren't good at stopping the run in the first place. But still, I'm still give it to him that it is something noteworthy that he was a part of that. PFF graded him the 9th overall guard in the league out of 64 centers. He was 4th in pass block rate. He was 10th in run block rate. So something to note. I'm not gonna go crazy about it, but it is something to note that hey, there's something here with this guy. I feel like if Liam Cohen brings this guy along, I know that he feels the same. Okay, so now let's talk about his talent. Let's talk about Tank Bigsby's talent. How is he different from Etienne or different from some of the other running backs who are on the roster? So for me, I'm more of an eye test guy. I need to be able to see the dude. I need to be able to see, is this guy actually talented? Because sometimes the film it talks more than the actual numbers. I'm a numbers guy, but I'm a film guy more. Right, so we're gonna take a look at some of the film and let's see what Tank Bigsby has been able to do over the course of the last season. Okay, so let's go ahead and get straight into the film and see what we got. Now, first play we're gonna look at is against the Colts right here. And first off, just kind of want to point out something. This guy is just getting the ball, and we already have an offensive lineman who's completely lost. Right, he's off somewhere else in space. We got another lineman who is looking at us, and then we got another lineman who's kind of fighting a double team, but it's just awkward. Like, what, I don't really know what he's doing here, especially when you have 2 free rushers coming straight through. Right, so let's see what Tank is able to do with it. Now look at this. Boom, able to put his foot in the ground. Now he's very quick. He is very quick, and this is why he's strong at short yardage situations, able to turn what was essentially a blown play into now he has these guys looking completely dumb, right? Completely dumb. So let's kind of continue. Boom, kicks it upfield, and he is gone, bro. And he has that big play ability to be able to get 15, 20 yards down the field, right? Let's look at another one. Right, boom, able to get down, and again, he has that big play ability that Etienne is not given. I mean, mind you, I like Etienne a lot, but there's a reason why he's in the top percentage of guys who are breaking away 15, 20-yard runs. And it's not fluke. Now, here's an interesting rep. We got a goal line situation here. We have a goal line situation, right? And they like to use Tank in these goal line situations. First off, just want to look at the front that we got. This box is basically loaded. Everybody knows here, hey, we're going to run a ball. You know that we're running a ball. I know that you're running a ball. You know that I know that you're running a ball. Let's go ahead and get a couple yards, okay? So off rip, couple things. This line, you'll notice as we look at a couple of these films, this line has a tendency to just collapse immediately. Right, look at these linemen. You got 2 of your linemen on their knees, right? Another one who's falling into another guy. Like it's just sloppy. Right? So as soon as Tank is getting the ball, by the way, right? You got a guy coming straight through this gap right here. You got another guy who just beat him, right? The only gap that you got really here is this one right here from this guy who's falling. But I mean, he's still holding it. So shout out to him. But like, Jesus Christ. All right, boom. So he's able to find a hole. He has great vision in these situations too. He has great vision in short yardage, able to fight through tackles, stay up, right? Stay up through that contact balance. And that's what makes him so special in regards to being able to make guys miss, right? Make guys miss and fight through the tackles, stay up. And he has that quickness. He has that burst, which is unique as well. So we got another goal line situation against Miami, same exact game. And this is where another strength of Tank's ability as well, at least how they use him. And we'll see how things go into the upcoming season. But they like to use him in short yardage. He showed that he can do this, right? So couple things. Let's kind of play it back here a little bit. Boom. So he gets the handoff. Okay, as soon as he gets his handoff, we got another situation where the O-line doesn't really hold up the way that it should. You got one guy, we got two guys right here. If you see an offensive lineman and they are sideways, that's not usually a good thing, because that means that they are getting beat. And on top of that, you got Ramsey down here, who his responsibility is to cover that flat. All right, so let's go ahead and play it. Now look at this, right? He's able to take what was a, really a short yardage situation, put his foot in the ground, right? Beat Ramsey out to the outside, and on top of that, stiff arms his ass too, right? I think Ramsey took a bad angle right here, but it's okay. Beats him to the outside, stiff arms, stay up, and is able to finish out the rep. Like that's really good stuff right there by Tank. Okay, now we got another situation here against our very own, or my very own, Philadelphia Eagles. Now look at this. Boom. So again, just now getting the ball. Okay, he's already reading the field, and we got a situation. We got Cooper DeJean right here, who just broke straight through through this block. We got Jalen Carter, who cannot be stopped. Right, we got CJ, who his responsibility is to cover that flat, that open space right there. And then we got Bond back here, who's kind of playing it back, and he could play, kind of go either way. However this goes, I can go. That's where he's at. Okay, now this is well defended by the Eagles. I'm just gonna say this first. This is well defended by the Eagles. Let's take a look and see how this goes. Boom, cut to the outside, get his foot in the ground, right? Stiff arms, is able to stay up. This is a crazy rep. This is a crazy rep, guys. Look at this. Boom. Foot in the ground, right? That same foot that we talked about, that just makes guys look dumb, right? BG is trying his hardest, to just kind of stay involved, but he can't catch him, right? And fights through a couple of tackles, man. And that's very special stuff that a lot of backs cannot do. I'm over here playing this next video, but let's get into it. Okay. So we got this Titans rep right here. As soon as he gets the ball, boom, we got a guy free, another guy free. Okay, so not the best situation that we want to see, but hey, it's the NFL. Is able to change direction, fight through multiple tackles, 2-3 tackles to stay up and kind of keep it moving. All right, we got another one here. Boom, red zone situation. Now this guy is like that, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. Tank Bigsby is like that, man. Yeah, this was actually a pretty good job by the offensive line for the most part. Everybody did their job. The only thing here is, you're fighting through 2 arm tackles. Boom, right there. Next one, and stiff arm the guy, able to get through, right? So this is a very interesting rep right here against the Packers. Okay, so first off, just looking at the front, this box is loaded. This box is loaded, man. You got a lot of guys right here. You got a lot of guys in this box who are ready to stop this run. Okay. Now as the play progresses, boom. Okay. Now this is a designed outside run. Okay. So as we look, boom. Okay. So we got our corner here who kind of, he's the reason why he wanted to change direction. Offense, also another offensive lineman on the ground, right? These guys are just completely breaking through this gap right here. This hole is completely blown, and this is where I talk about he has great vision, just getting through the line and finding wherever it works, and he's able to just wiggle through. He's quick and able to stay up and fight for yards, man. Because a lot of guys in that situation could, they're not making that play, bro. They're not turning that into a 15-yard play. And mind you, on top of it, just want to kind of throw in there as well, he's pulling behind the tackle, right? He's pulling behind the tackle. So I just think that's a great display of vision, patience, quickness, able to, shift down. And he almost scored right there. He almost scored. So we're going to take a look at our last play, right? And we got another play against the Colts that I want to highlight as well. All right. So, and this is like, this rep right here is the epitome of Tank Bigsby, in my opinion. Patient, find the hole, able to just fight through, right? And just muscle his way into the end zone. Like, this is crazy, bro. This is crazy. Like, in case you didn't know, this is crazy. This is not normal. Look at this. stay up, contact. Like, come on now. Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? You know, and he's powerful, he's quick, he's patient, he has great vision, great home run ability, and I think it just makes him a perfect running back, you know, for this system. So yeah, man, let's go ahead and get back into the rest of the video. So overall, great signs from Tank Bigsby, you know, strong runner, contact balance, explosive, great vision, and you know, he has that home run ability. So let's talk about last year. I do want to also point out the snap count last year. So from last year, weeks 1 through 6, right? The snap count between Etienne and also Tank Bigsby. Breakdown was Travis Etienne had about 70% of snap count from week 1 through 6. I'm sorry, 1 through 6. Now, granted, we had injuries to Etienne, you know, missed 2 games, whatever, right? So week 7 through 17, the snap count was broken up basically almost 50-50. You got 52% for Travis Etienne, you got 47% for Tank Bigsby. And Tank Bigsby, he earned those reps. I mean, if you were paying attention last year, or even if he wasn't, he had a couple good games and earned those reps to a point where, you know, they're basically splitting carries now, because that was not the case going into the season. That wasn't the game plan going into the season, and he earned those reps. So that's something to really point out. And if we dive a little bit deeper into that, when we look at red zone snaps, Tank Bigsby had 57% of the snap share in the red zone. That's important. That's critical. That means that basically 6 times out of 10, right, we're having Tank Bigsby on a goal line in the red zone. I want Tank in there. And so that plays to his touchdown capabilities, and just making sure that guy is on the field. And with the additions that they brought in, I don't think that role has changed much, right? And we'll kind of look and go into that as well. But also another thing in regards to speaking to his talent as well is that yards after contact, right? So Tank Bigsby last year was tied 3rd in the NFL, right, with yards after contact at 3.4 yards per carry. If you had to take a guess, who do you think he's tied with? You guessed it, Derrick Henry. Derrick freaking Henry. Okay. Also, he's tied for 5th in missed tackle percentage. All right. If you had to take a guess, who do you think he was tied with? You guessed it, Jamar Gibbs. Jamar freaking Gibbs, right? Jamar Gibbs is quick. That guy, talk about home run ability. You know, Jamar Gibbs really has a full package. And the fact that, you know, you can have the yards after contact, the power, the ability to be up there with Derrick Henry, and also at the same time be shifty enough as a Jamar Gibbs. I'm not trying to glaze him too much, but I am just saying that, you know, this guy is talented. There is something here with Tank Bigsby. And it shows in the numbers, and it also shows on film as well. And also one last stat I got in regards to his talent is that the fact that he was 8th in the league in regards to runs for 15 or more yards. Okay, so he has that big play ability, and that is also considerable considering the fact that he didn't have as many snaps as a Derrick Henry, as a Jamar Gibbs, as a Bijan Robinson, as some of these guys who are really 3rd down, 3 down kind of backs, or who are really the starters. You know, maybe they don't have as much competition in the backfield. And Tank Bigsby was splitting carries too. So the fact that you were 8th in 15 yards and carries for 15 yards or more, that does speak volume just due to the decreased amount of carries that he had overall throughout the season. So this guy can really do it. He can really do it. All right. Now let's move on to talk about the third aspect, and that is opportunity. Because at the end of the day, you know, you could be in the right system, you could be talented, but if the opportunity is not there for you, then that could be the difference between somebody being a bust or not, or, you know, you liking a guy and just not putting it all together. So let's talk about his opportunity. First, let's talk about Etienne, because Etienne is his biggest threat in regards to opportunities, right? So looking at it over the past 3 years with Etienne, his first year, he was first year playing, not rookie year, right? He finished as the RB17. Second year, finished as the RB3. That was the year, you know, he took you to the moon. Everybody loved Etienne. I still loved Etienne even prior to that, but that was a great year for Etienne, right? And then we have last year where he ends up dropping from RB3 all the way down to RB35. RB35, and it wasn't expected. A lot of people didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming. And so people are like scratching their head and say, okay, well, this, you know, it was a disappointment. If you had Etienne last year, you were disappointed because you paid a lot of draft capital to get him. Okay. So just looking back over the past 10 years, I wanted to see, okay, there was only 6 running backs who had that drastic of a drop from either top 5 to anywhere between 27 to 55. Like out of those 6 running backs, only 2 of them were able to bounce back to a either top 5 or maybe top 10 running back season after, like the following year, right? So, and one of them was Jonathan Taylor, who ended up getting hurt, right? So he got injured, and you know, obviously that would be the reason why he dropped. He comes back healthy, and boom, he's back to Jonathan Taylor, who we kind of know. So, you know, basically looking back at history, it's not really in Etienne's favor that this guy's gonna bounce back and have this top 5, top 3, whatever season. And I don't think people are expecting that, but yeah, it does just mean like, okay, well, those carries are gonna go somewhere else, right? Those volumes are gonna go somewhere else. And that's important. Okay. Another thing I want to talk about with Etienne is injuries. All right. So 2021, he gets drafted. This is his rookie year. He has a Lisp rank tear. He's out for the season, doesn't play. 2022 has a foot sprain. 2023, bruised ribs. 2024, shoulder and hamstring injury, which is part of the reason why he missed those 2 games last year. You know, injuries is something that Etienne deals with. Some of them he pushes through and plays, and some of them can be a little concerning, but I'm not trying to lace it as if he's some old guy. He's not, you know, he's still young, but he does deal with injuries. You know, if you look at the injury history of a guy like Etienne and a guy like Tank, I mean, it's like night and day. And I think Tank only has maybe, he doesn't have like maybe 1 or 2 injuries since college, you know, and not major injuries. So this guy's pretty solid for the most part, as of coming into this season, and hopefully it stays that way. But with Etienne, that is something to be concerned about, you know, at least to consider is injuries. Another thing with Etienne is that this is his contract year. This 2025 is his contract year. And as we know, with players in their contract year, it does increase your chances of you getting traded. You know, there are teams that say, you know what, let's move him. Especially somebody who's already been in trade talks like Etienne has been. You know, we talked about this last year, over the all season, maybe been some buzz. We wanted to see what they wanted to do and bring anybody else in. Granted, they did draft 2 running backs this year, who actually we're going to talk about here in a little second. But there is a chance that Etienne could not finish this entire season with the Jags. Either, you know, he could get traded potentially going into the season, preseason, or it could be middle of the season. Who knows? But there is a chance that Etienne does get traded. And if that happens, this is a lock. Tank Bigsby is a lock. And I think at that point, he's not even going to be a sleeper anymore. Obviously, people are going to say, okay, well, let's go ahead and buy in a Tank Bigsby, because I think, you know, a lot of guys do like Tank Bigsby, but, you know, I don't know. So that's a very real possibility. Another thing with Etienne is that, I mean, and this is just me, it kind of stand out to me a little bit, is that they did not draft his younger brother in this year's draft, who's actually, you know, he's pretty good. He's a good back. And, you know, I just don't know where the franchise is with Etienne. I don't know if they're bought into Etienne or not. I don't really think they are. I mean, they haven't moved him, but, you know, if you have the opportunity to draft somebody's younger brother who's also a running back, obviously you're looking for running back help. You have some needs and in the running back position. And you have an opportunity to bring this guy's brother in, who's a good back. I'm not trying to say like, oh, he's just his brothers are bringing him in, but he's actually a good back as well. And they end up going, and they did draft running back, but it wasn't him. It was another guy, and we're going to talk about him next, and that's Backfield Tootin. They ended up bringing him in the 4th round, but when they drafted him, Etienne was on the board. You know, his brother was on the board. I think his brother went a little bit later, but not too much. They went around the same area, if I can recall. So that kind of tells me like you're not really bought in on you or your brother. you know, to be honest with you, it's like you're in your contract year, and I don't think they're bought in, you know, so that is a possible risk for Etienne, and it's also a benefit for the rest of the backs in that backfield. Okay, now let's move on. Let's talk about somebody else who could hinder the opportunities for Tank Bigsby, and that is the 4th round draft pick that I just discussed, and that's Backfield. All right, so running back out of Virginia Tech, and they ended up picking him up in the 4th round. So some of the pros about this guy can be utilized in the passing game, which is great. Right, this is great. You know, over his 2 seasons with Virginia Tech, he's had 66 targets, 48 receptions over those 2 seasons, and just kind of put that in perspective. Travis Etienne over the course of the past 3 seasons, he had 36 receptions in 2022. 58 receptions in 2023. That was that year where he went crazy, and 35 receptions in 2024. So averaging about 30 receptions a year, you know, on average. So the fact that they do bring another pass catching back who can kind of fill that void is more of a risk to Etienne than it is for Tank Bigsby, because Tank Bigsby is not a primarily pass catcher. He's a runner. You know, and so they brought in somebody who can kind of fill that Etienne role in case they decide to move forward or whatever the case may be. And this guy is actually pretty good too. He has a home run hitting ability, which I like about him. He's actually a pretty good rusher. He's a heavy runner too. He's not a big guy. He's not, you know, huge. He's actually a small guy, but this dude can run heavy, and he can run through contact as well. He's 9th in his in class in regards to missed tackles forced, with 8th, and he's also 8th in yards after contact. So similar to Tank, you know, this guy can run through contact, and he can force you to miss. So he's a great runner. He used a lot in outside zone concepts with Virginia Tech, and as we know, as we talked about a little bit, Liam Cohen loves outside zone, so he'll fit right into the system with Liam Cohen. That kind of makes sense, is the reason why they end up bringing him in and drafting him. And you know, another I would say pro in the favor of Backfield too, and then also one other running back that they drafted earlier, is that, you know, this is a Liam Cohen guy, right? He's a Liam Cohen guy. Etienne and Tank, they're not Liam Cohen. You know, there's no loyalty from Liam Cohen's part to be invested in these guys, you know, and we've seen that happen before with the Bucks. Right. So, but some of the cons with this guy, with Backfield, is that over the course of the past 2 seasons, he's had a total of 9 fumbles. That's not good. As a running back, if you cannot protect the football, that can kill your stock as a running back. You know, fantasy wise, just general football team wise, if you cannot hold on to the football, that's going to hinder your touches. It's going to hinder your carries. And with that being the case, that's one of the also reasons why I don't think that he's going to be a full threat in regards to taking consistent snaps from either Etienne or from Tank. You know, I think he'll be a good change of pace guy, to be honest with you. Utilize him, he's versatile, but that's how I kind of see him. He did struggle in pass protection over the course of the past 2 seasons with Virginia Tech. Like I said, he's not a big guy. He's not a goal line back. He is not a goal line back. He's one of those guys you throw in there at the 40-yard line, maybe 50, 60. You know, we need to go get a couple yards. We need 15. We need 20. That's where you throw him in. But when you get close to the goal line, he's not really that closer that Tank is. So that's important. And that also means that he can't fill Tank's role. He can fill Etienne's role. You know, he can grow into that role. He cannot fill Tank's role. And that's important. Now, let's talk about another rookie who they also drafted as well last year, and that is LaQuint Allen, right? LaQuint Allen, drafted him in the 7th round. This guy is 6 foot, 204. This guy is bigger. This guy is a bruiser. He had 20 touchdowns last year. So this guy can get into the red zone. He can get into the box. He has that 3rd down upside. He's a bruiser back who can also catch the ball too. He has hands, which is great. You know, that's something that Tank needs to work on a little bit more. I know Liam has kind of talked about that, getting him more involved as a pass catcher. I think that Tank can be a pass catcher. I just don't know if they really tried to tap into that in regards to him. So I think he has that ability, but this guy, LaQuint Allen can, but he's not a home run hitter. So he's a guy that you put in, you need 10 yards, you need 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, red zone, that's the guy. But if you need to go pick up some yards, I mean, long, big chunk yards, he's not really that, he's not going to really get away from you, to be honest with you. But I do like him. I like him. I like both of these two rookies that they drafted and brought in. That does say a lot about what their commitment to the run game is. And also it says a lot about the fact that they want a competitive backfield, right? And we've seen this happen before with the Bucks. So, all right. Now, in conclusion, kind of wrapping this all up, we talked about system, we talked about his talent, we talked about the opportunity. In conclusion, I will say this, that the Jags is a team that you do want to pay attention to. This is a team that is turning things around, right? You go in, you get a guy like Travis Hunter, right? You trade up, get a guy like Travis Hunter. They're aggressive with making sure that they are turning the franchise around. You bring in a new promising head coach. You bring in new management as well. And I do feel like the regime in the Jaguars organization is turning around. And I think it's turning around in a positive direction. I think that this team is young. I think this team has talent. And I think that they're starting to develop the right mentality to really make themselves contenders. I mean, they've always kind of been in that fringe range, but not really able to close the gap. And I do see them making a step forward just over the moves that they've been making over the offseason and the buzz coming out of the camp and things like that. I think the Jaguars are really turning the direction in a good way. And so you can see that from how they drafted. And, this is, I can tell you this is an offense that will score the they'll score the football. They're going to score. And in fantasy, you want to be a part of offenses that score a lot of points. If they score a lot of points, you want pieces of those offenses. And so I think they will. I mean, you got from, Brian Thomas last year, had breakout rookie season. I had him on my fantasy team in one of my home leagues, in my pay league, and ended up winning that championship. And a large part of it was from Brian Thomas. So shout out to him. He's a star, he's a stud. And so now you go get Travis Hunter. And you bring in Liam Cohen, who's starting to develop the running game now, right? Let's address this offensive line who has issues. We're just talking about offense here for fantasy purposes. So they're really turning things around here with Jacksonville, okay? Now, another thing is that the opportunity is there for Tank to really establish himself as a primary runner, right? The reason why I say that, let's go back to the Bucks. Right, 2024 Bucks, and it kind of, you got Rachaad White there, who's kind of been the guy prior to last year. Good promising running back. I like Rachaad White. I still like Rachaad White, to be honest with you. And so you bring in Bucky Irvin, young guy, rookie, and as the season progressed, this guy is starting to compete for carries. He's starting to compete for snaps, just like Tank and Etienne were last year. But Liam Cohen, the way that he coaches, he likes to take risks. He can take risks. He does not have any problem with putting the better running back out there on the field. And that's what I like about Liam Cohen. He puts the best player in the best position possible, and he's going to put the person who's a better running back out there. Right. And we've seen that last year with the Bucks, and Rachaad White was not the better running back. Right. He's a good pass catcher, Etienne, but when it comes to running the football, Bucky Irvin was the better running back, and that showed, and he got rewarded for that in regards to snaps, and it resulted in fantasy value as well. And that's part of the reason why Bucky Irvin was a breakout last year. If you had Bucky Irvin, you benefited from that a lot, especially in the later rounds. So I think that the opportunity is there because I know for a fact that Tank is a better runner. And Liam's gonna love that. He's gonna be like, dog, this dude, because it's hard to deny when the guy is a better runner. And some coaches will, some front offices will, they'll adjust, but some don't. Some franchises don't, or some head coaches don't, or some, they'll put the guy out there and he's a better runner, and then you just take him out and you let this guy come back in. And it's like, dog, you're waiting for him to get back on the field. You're waiting for him to get more touches, and it's obvious to everybody else except for the, and so Liam is not one of those head coaches or one of those coaches in general. At least it's been proven on how he runs his offenses. So I like that a lot. And then last but not least as well, goal line. The goal line, man. When it comes to goal line, I feel like that's a role for Tank that's his. That's his. I don't see Travis Etienne being that goal line back. He's proven that he can do it. I don't see Tootin being in that role. He can't. He's not a goal line guy. And then possibly, you have LaQuint Allen, who can come in as a change of pace red zone guy, and that's fine, but I don't think that he'll have significant snaps to the point where, it's impacting Tank Bigsby severely. So I think that Tank Bigsby has a premier role in this offense from a backfield standpoint. Then when it comes to the red zone, and that results in fantasy value when you start talking about touchdowns. Okay. Now, some of the possible risk with Tank, right? I'm gonna lay out the good and also the bad. So some of the possible risk is that one is that all the cons, pros that I talked about, it could also apply for every other running back on this roster, right? So we talk about the new system and everything like that. These other running backs could also benefit from the same things that I talked about Tank, right? And another possible risk is that Bryshul, Tootin, or LaQuint Allen, who they drafted, there's a risk that maybe they could have a larger role than we anticipate, right? Even though, yes, it is Travis Etienne, he has that name value, and maybe they don't like Tank. And some of these guys who really, they drafted in the fourth and spent 4th and 7th round draft capital to address and bring in, maybe they do pick up a little bit more than what's anticipated. Because we have seen that with Bucky Irvin last year. Liam Cohen, he comes in, he brings in his guy who he's drafted, and he takes over shit. I'm not saying I don't anticipate that, just because I think that the talent will rise to the top. That's how Liam Cohen operates, right? Is the talent will rise to the top, right? So if you're good, you got to earn it, and I don't think Tank Bigsby's gonna let this one go. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think Tank has it. He's the best runner on this team, and it's on the show. And so with that being the case, I feel safer about Tank than I do about anybody else in this backfield. And I think this is a very valuable backfield to be a part of going into the 2025 season, which is why I say that. Okay. And so last thing I want to talk about is draft value with this guy. In order for him to be valuable to your team, where he's going at right now, it makes perfect sense. It's a home run hit for me. It's a no-brainer for me. And so let's talk about it. So right now, Sleeper has Tank listed as the RB37 at this current moment in time. Okay. ESPN has him rated as the RB42. And Yahoo has him rated the lowest at RB72. So we're talking about 10th round value, 10th round and under. Anywhere between 10 to 15, with round 10 to 15. Like, this is where you really want to bolster up your roster. If you can draft well in the first 9 rounds, right, then you can start capitalizing and building off of that in the later rounds. And I just feel like with what I see with Tank and what I see with the team, there's no way that he should be going this low, in my opinion. There's no way he should be going this low. A lot of guys aren't talking about him. A lot of guys aren't paying attention to him. And I feel like he's going to really show people next year that, this dude is really serious. And because Etienne could be out of here. He could be out of here. He's in this contract year. They may already, even if they don't trade him, they could just not commit to him fully. And, they're like, hey, we need to start planning for the future. Let's give these guys the ball. And Etienne can be out of here at the end of the 2025 season. I think who knows what happens. I'm not going to really speak on it too much. But going around that range in the draft, we got Rachaad White. Right, he's going around that range. If it's Rachaad White or Tank Bigsby, I'm taking Tank. That's a no-brainer. You got Zach Charbonnet going around that area as well. you know, you can kind of make a case for that. I know some guys really liked Zach Charbonnet. We'll probably do some other video or breakdown on Zach, but I'm taking Tank, me personally. You got Blake Corum. If you want to, you know, wait on that train. I actually bought into Blake Corum last year as a rookie. I liked him going into the season. We'll see how things go. You know, last year was a disappointment. I held him a little bit too long, but not trying to discredit him at all. I'm still taking Tank at this point. Austin Eckler, not even a question. Let's move on. And also you got Tyler Algier as well, who I feel like if Bijan doesn't get hurt, he's not giving you the same value that Tank can, right? And so with that being the case, I mean, like, there's no reason he should be in that category, guys. I think he needs to be higher, and he's a great value at where he's going at right now in the draft. Maybe when we get a little bit closer to the actual season, then, you know, I'm sure, of course, all these ADPs are kind of going to adjust a little bit. Maybe he moves up. Maybe he doesn't move up. But I'm telling you right now, Tank Bigsby is a guy that you want to have on your team. If you can hit early within the first 9 rounds, right? You get a stud running back. You get a Jahmyr Gibbs. You get a Saquon. You get a Derrick Henry. You get a, I mean, you know, these are top 5 guys. But, you know, you get a legit running back. You know, James Cook, right? And then you're able to double down maybe in the 7th, maybe in the 5th, right? And you get a solid number 2, or you go RB heavier. Who knows, right? You can really solidify yourself and have a solid RB base going into the year, because these guys come at a premium, and there's not a lot of them around. So if you can find good ones, good gems in the later round, then that could really make the difference for your fantasy team and help you to really step up. So I'm excited about Tank Bigsby. I think that you should be excited about Tank Bigsby as well. If you want to see more content like this, then just comment below. Let me know. But there will be more content coming out regardless anyway. So let me know what you want to see next and how you guys like this video. All right. See you next time.